All right, episode 237. Of course, we got to talk about the Rocket Mortgage Redfin acquisition and what it means for real estate agents, because you are listening to the only real estate podcast worth listening to. We'll get started right now.
I'm scared.
All right, welcome back. Episode 237. All right, today, we got to break this down. That Rocket Mortgage Redfin proposed acquisition and what it means to us, the real estate agent. But if this is your first time tuning in, welcome. And thank you for checking us out. And if you've heard us before, then you know how great this show is. So you should have already gone over to Spotify or Apple Podcast and left us a 5-star review, and maybe gone to YouTube, hit that. Then the only real estate group worth being a part of on Facebook. Should definitely go in there because there's a lot of anonymous posts going on. Jesse thinks it's me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, Jesse's like, thanks a lot.
I saw him tag you in that.
Like, at least you decided not to go anonymous on this post.
I know.
So
Just got a bus drive over somebody.
yeah. So
You can't see in those groups even who the anonymous poster is, even as the admins, can you?
I thought
I
you
don't think
could.
so.
Yeah, I don't ever go in the admin functions of our group. I don't know how to run
Look,
any of that.
but you have never seen Clark Kent and Superman in the same room.
That is true.
Ding, ding,
I
ding.
don't
Yeah.
have my glasses on today, but sometimes I do.
Yeah. So, all right, let's break this down. So here's what we got today. The Redfin Rocket Mortgage acquisition. And before the social media, especially the Facebook real estate groups, before this, and it's really one lady, I've seen several comments. Who cares?
Yeah.
Go back to selling real estate. Well, I'm talking to you, whatever your name is, because you should care about this,
Yeah,
right?
it's kind of a big deal.
Right. The playground is starting to change. You have the Keller Williams merger with private equity that happened 2 weeks before,
Yep.
right? They now have a new CEO. We're not even going to touch on the, kind of the other Keller Williams news that, with Gary Keller's son. So we won't even go down that path. But with this, we said that we're going to start seeing more dominoes start falling. And I do believe that we will see more mergers of kind of this caliber.
I think it's interesting just because of their positioning in the market, right? And I don't know if these stats are still fully true, but I've always understood Redfin to be kind of the number 2 searched real estate platform behind Zillow. And Rocket Mortgage certainly probably owns the online mortgage space. So in my industry, if something with a B on the end of it, as far as billions, changes hands, I'm going to look up from my work and notice what's going on.
No, for sure. And let's kind of break it down for those. Maybe you're new to this space. Obviously, the Rocket companies, which is mainly Rocket Mortgage, I think they own some other stuff in there. They are, if not the number 1 lender, they're top 2 probably.
Yeah.
And they use a lot of technology. They spend a lot of money on marketing. And I guess they're okay to work with. I mean,
look, when people only transact on real estate every 5 to 7 years, it's easy to not know, right? So there's whoever dominates the marketing space as far as that goes, they're going to get a ton of eyeballs and a ton of opportunities. And Rocket Mortgage, I'll tell you, I would probably say when buyers just come to me and they've already got a lender, one of them is usually Rocket Mortgage. So the people who aren't getting recommendations from real estate agents out there, that is who they're finding. Because when people just come to me randomly pre-qualified, Rocket Mortgage is definitely one of them they're rolling out almost every single time.
is it?
Yeah, every time.
Okay, I haven't seen as much lately or in the past couple months, but I'm sure that will change. I mean, obviously they've got their online technology presence. So, you go, if you're typing it in, they're probably one of the top that comes up.
I would imagine so.
And then you've got Redfin, they're, quote unquote, a discount brokerage. They had the salaried agent models. They kind of started shifting away from a lot of that, but they are big in the tech space.
Yeah.
And they built out a website that had a phenomenal search function on there. And I mean, I don't know how many times I've seen clients, that we've worked with that have sent over properties using, and they were searching only on Redfin.
Yeah. I will tell you, if I forgot to send myself or bring my documents along with me and I've got to quick look something up, that is the website that I go to look it up real quick.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's the most user friendly on my phone. If I need to get a year built or something like that isn't in the obvious criteria, Redfin's always the default one I go to. Now, I'm not going to download their app and give them any advertising of dollars of mine, like in that sense. So I keep the crap off my phone, but I will go to their app in a pinch.
And I know that Redfin they have their own mortgage company affiliate with it. When we were on a place call that Matt and I are affiliated with, I did hear that Redfin only captures about 22% from the mortgage side of the Redfin real estate buyer closing. So only about 22% of that goes to the Redfin mortgage affiliate services.
This is live breaking news. Compass negotiating to buy Berkshire Hathaway Home Services.
Wow.
Another big partnership and merger.
Berkshire Hathaway's been doing the bit because we got an inside look at this here locally when they bought Ebby, of how they're just going around buying these, big, small brokerages and mid-sized brokerages and kind of allowing them all to continue to function the way they were functioning and just rolling in their brand, right? It's like, here locally, I felt like Russell was kind of the guy who initially got purchased by that. And then we saw Ebby get picked up. Look, I think this makes a lot of sense. If agents aren't noticing how much the real estate industry is changing, and this isn't necessarily because of the DOJ commission stuff, I don't think, but somebody along the way who has a lot more money and sense than most of us has realized that integrating real estate and making it as seamless as possible, because that's the scary thing about the Redfin Rocket deal. We can sit here all day long and say, like, people still need an agent. They do, and they're still getting one, right? Like, they can do everything in-house with this Rocket Mortgage Redfin deal. It's kind of, I'm not saying I'm like worried about as an agent, but it's definitely probably one of these mergers that I think makes the most sense. They're both staying in their lane. They're both already have a niche group of people built in, people who want to save money, right? I'm dealing with a Redfin agent right now, another side of a transaction. The negotiations are exactly what you would expect. They are very meticulous. We'll put it that way, right? The person on the other end is definitely trying to save as much money as possible. They are negotiating on every point down to the last penny. And I think there's a large niche market of people who are going to be better served now because of that whatever you would call it, merger, acquisition, whatever it is. So
again, you just heard Jesse come in with the breaking news of
the breaking sounder.
Yeah, you should have played it with Compass and talks to now. There we go. There we go.
Right. Somebody's listening to this on headphones and it's just like, geez, Jesse.
Yeah. And talks to buy Berkshire Hathaway. And I had posted this in our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. You should definitely go and join and check it out. And some of the comments that we hear is that Redfin is not profitable. And the other comments, of course, is go back to selling real estate. Who cares? And I said, I made mention that this is just one of many dominoes that's going to start falling. I mean, if you really go look at the landscape, 2024 was one of the lowest that we've seen since 1994, and closed transactions for the real estate industry, just real estate in general. And, with as many brokerages are out there, that it's going to start sucking and burning up cash, right? 71% of agents did not sell a single house in 2024. They're just sitting there, not making any money for themselves. The brokerages aren't making any money. So naturally you start to see this contraction in the marketplace. And that's obvious. That's now starting to happen. And the big conglomerates will start to come in that have cash and start to buy it up. I think Berkshire, if you kind of look at Warren Buffett has been liquidating a lot of his assets and now sits on,
tons of money.
Yeah. I can't even recall. It's $200 billion in cash.
More than that now. I think it's like 300 billion.
300+ billion in cash. So it seems like he's just liquidating and getting ready for something. It's probably he's starting to see a trend that's happening to get really cash heavy. 334 billion that Warren Buffett is sitting on. And, he probably starts to see, hey, he's posing his, kind of structuring his company as being buying season because there's going to be a lot of discounted opportunities that are happening. But if we go back to Redfin and Rocket, I look at this as the same way when Open Door and the iBuyers were really hitting the market. And everyone said the same thing. Who cares?
Yep.
Go back to selling real estate. But when you start to take away at bats and opportunities from the real estate agents, right? If you start to segment that and say, all right, 10% of this now has gone to iBuyers. And that, I think that grew a little bit. If you now say, all right, you have that little segment of the industry. Now, obviously with the kind of change in the market, they've slowed their roll. Their pace has slowed. But now you got Redfin and Rocket Mortgage, where Redfin gets about 50 million monthly website visitors to their website every single month. This is about a play to get that traffic in there, to make it a lead generation magnet for them, because Rocket Mortgage is profitable.
Yep.
Redfin they struggle with profitability, but who cares? They've now been bought out. They built out a technology platform. They built out a brand. They built out a mechanism to attract eyeballs on their website. Now they need Rocket. Now Rocket Mortgage can go put their sales side of it, because they're used to generating online leads and online inquiries and using their sales side. Their loan officers are already pushing a Rocket Rocket agent affiliate, and that affiliate, I think, was paying some type of referral fee back to a referral brokerage.
Yep.
Now, how do you think that Rocket Mortgage loan officer what are they going to do to start pushing it to the Redfin real estate agents?
Yeah, it's going to be the same thing as when everybody was paying for Zillow leads, and then Zillow became their own brokerage, and they didn't have any interest in selling those leads to anybody anymore. At the very least, the timing of it should make agents look up. We had all of those discount style listing purple bricks and things coming along when it was a seller friendly market. I think if nothing else, this shows just how much probably nationwide we've moved into a seller's market, because Redfin
buyer's market,
or a buyer's market. Yeah. A Redfin and Rocket Mortgage are absolutely, I think, buyer friendly products, right?
Sure.
Like they certainly offer the discount on the sales side, but buyers go there to find their homes. Now they have a mortgage option. If nothing else, that should make agents look up from whatever they're doing to start noticing Gary bringing in the private money. He, at the very least, is saying, I know that data-driven real estate is what's coming next, right? And so the deal of just keep your head down and keep selling houses is, I mean, that's great on a Tuesday, but this stuff matters. And I think it does change the way people are going to interact with real estate.
And as you're listening to this and you're coming back and watching the replay on Facebook, hopefully share this out, tag some people in it, and make some comments below. We would love to respond to them. But, when you have that thought process of, I think it's good and bad, right? It's a double-edged sword where I'm just going to keep my head down. I'm going to stay in my lane. Or, who cares? Just go back to selling real estate. That's all that matters. Is that, if we don't look up and the landscape has now changed, and this is the way that you make money, and you haven't adapted with it or stayed in front of it, then, I think that puts you at a massive risk to going out of business.
Yeah.
Or a massive risk of a drastic reduction in income. And, the way that I'm viewing this and saying, okay, where does the industry go with it? We most likely are in a real estate style recession. Real estate closings are down, mortgage rates are still high, buyer sentiment is low, sellers don't have a lot of sentiment to sell. Even owning a home is kind of, costly for them. So they're trying to get out of that or lower their expenses. And so we're kind of in this very choppy waters at the moment. And, when you start to take chess pieces off the chessboard, well, then it starts limiting the moves and the options that you have. I don't think Redfin changed their discount model. I think if I remember correctly, they got rid of it because it wasn't attracting enough buyer interest in order for them to say, hey, we can turn a profit because we do a reduced commission, or we give a rebate of commission. And obviously that's now changed with the new lawsuit settlement. But if I remember correctly, they changed that to start to bolster. Hopefully they could bolster revenue, and just start focusing on client conversions.
Yeah. We've been talking on the show for a long time though, and I think we're finally at the river meets the ocean part of where agents need to be able to master technology and data and AI to continue to compete, because in a market where there is a lot less transactions to be had, follow-up is now became kind of, we've always had this discussion about what's more important, generating the lead into your database or how you follow up with them afterwards. And I understand you have to get them in there, but getting them in there isn't nearly as difficult right now as it is to convert them into something. And when you talk about, you know, all of the technology side of things with the Redfin already has, Zillow already has, they've got their messaging dialed in, they've got their automation dialed in. If you're still an agent who's doing everything completely by hand or pushing back against using your freaking CRM, like that's going to start to burn you really bad, because you're going to work really hard to get these opportunities into your world and then lose to somebody who followed up better than you did because you thought the hunt and kill of the lead generation was all that you needed to do. And I think we're going to see agent with really robust follow-up or dedication to follow-up are going to be the ones who can maintain and grow their business around what Redfin's doing with Rocket Mortgage and around whatever Keller Williams and Gary comes up with and whoever else enters the playing field. And I don't think agents have done a really good job of recognizing. We've been talking about that for a long time on this show, and it feels like it's finally really here affecting your business today.
Well, again, so where, you know, if you're an agent that's been in the business for a while, or if you're brand new, what should you be worrying about? What should you be focusing on? You know, how do you, what's the best way to cut out this noise, but at the same time, you know, be kind of aware of what's going on?
Look, I think if you want to cut out some noise, there's some simple automation you can do for yourself just with Google alerts, right? If you just want to stay on top of certain things like mortgage rates, find a good lender partner who's going to update you on those things and then clear out the rest of what everybody else is talking about. I do think that part of it helps. I am noticing in a lot of new agents right now that there's this run up time in their mentality. And I think that's natural as you unwind yourself from joining a new brokerage or figuring out new partnerships. But this idea of getting ready to get ready is killing some agents right now, man. Like, they have got to just recognize that whatever you're going to do, whether it's open houses or call prospecting, there has to be some level of stickiness to it. Like, your open house can't just end at the open house. There needs to be long-term. I'm working with a $600,000 buyer right now that I met last March at an open house, right? Those tried and true things of getting in front of people, they're actually going to work better right now. Your email automation may suck right now. Your pickup rate may suck a little bit right now. But I guarantee if you go drop off flyers on the street in front of and behind your open house, you're probably going to have a few decent conversations. A lot of that in-person, like high touch referral type stuff that people used to do, that's going to work really well in this market. It's going to be a little bit, it's going to feel, everything feels a little slow right now.
Sure.
Been at it for a while.
Yeah. And and the best time to build a business is when there's a downturn and you come out the other side with market share, but you've got to get comfortable, or not even comfortable. You got to accept that you have to do the consistency of the hard, consistent work every single day, right? Consistency over anything else, of just taking action. And it's the small things that will start to build up with momentum. And then the next thing you know, you're overloaded with clients. And, you know, I'll give a prime example. People still want to be communicated with, and they actually want it really, really quick. There was a buyer lead that came into our system yesterday. And I just so happened to come through, you know, through my portion of it. I called it within less than 5 minutes. So speed the lead on that one. Had a conversation, followed a scripting, basically the scripting formula of LP Mama, the location, price, motivation, you know, style of it. First time home buyer. I'm seeing actually more veterans. I'm starting to see more and more veterans coming out of the woodwork wanting to use their VA loan. And, you know, found out first time home buyer, lives at home with family, you know, and not in a rush, but if he finds the right property, he's golden. And I said, hey, can I connect you with my lender who specializes in VA home loans? He said, yes. I did that. This was all in the afternoon, 9:54 p.m. I get a pre-approval letter ready to go. I had already set the appointment. He wanted to meet over Zoom just to make it easier so I didn't have to fight traffic. I said, great. And then today, he already found a property. He's like, I don't want to lose out on this. And I said, look, I have to have a buyer's representation agreement. Let me send it over. I'll explain it if you feel comfortable and confident, even though it's before our 5 p.m. meeting, which I still want to have. You'll need to sign this. Sent it over. You know, I wrote the format of what I wanted to explain in this about, you know, who pays what, had ChatGPT clean it up, send it over. He's signed, already under a representation agreement, already with the pre-approval, all in less than 24 hours. People still want that are ready to go and motivated. They still want that service side.
And I deal with this and hear agents say this on a pretty frequent basis. And I think what you just hit on is something that they need to realize. There are probably 5 spaces in there where normal agents would have got bogged down and started throwing their own challenge in their way. The not meeting in person, the getting the pre-qual letter, the sending over the buyer rep agreement, all those things that you move through in 24 hours, agents will find ways to get in their own way sometimes. And I think skilling it sucks because I feel like this show has come completely full circle back to 2017 when we're talking about doing some of the most basic things. They are so unbelievably effective right now. My straightforward conversations with people work way better than trying to like church up some other nonsense that I'm making up on my own. I watch agents try and come up with new and unique. If there was ever a market to do the proven thing, we are walking through it every single day. Like the conversational masteries that we have and the practical things of open house and just calling enough people until you talk to them. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel sexy. You need to have the technology to help you with the follow-up, but getting the people into your world right now, there's a huge space for agents who just want to work hard.
So I want to touch on this is that, the number one, kind of fault that an agent has, and you posted this in our internal group yesterday, Matt, and unfortunately, I'm the only one that responded to it, by the way, I think.
And
you kind of asked like, where are you struggling?
Yeah.
Right. So, you said, is it lead gen? Is it follow-up? Is it, I can't remember all the other questions.
There's like 6 of them on there.
6 of them, and I think that there's 2 things that agents do that hurts their business. And the first thing is they don't lead generate enough. They don't search for a motivated seller and a motivated buyer every single day. That could be 30 minutes of calling, 60 minutes calling all day. And then the second part of that is if they do some of that, they don't follow up.
Yep.
Because they're only looking for people like this client that, look, that sounds great. Within 24 hours, he signed. That sounds amazing. That's rare for that to happen.
It is.
Normally, it's a long dating process. And we screw up the follow-up. We get busy. Personal stuff happens. Maybe our business gets busy. We get sick, whatever. And we just stop following up. And then we see it on our overdue task. If we actually put it in our CRM system, that's another thing. We're not using any type of, technology at a high level. Most agents don't even really have a website. They just use their brokerage website.
Yep.
And then if we go back and look at, this merger of Redfin and Rocket, they have, by the way, they're, Rocket Mortgage, they're employees. They have employees that run their marketing system. They have employed sales managers.
And I can give you a perfect example because I had a negotiation today with a Redfin agent who pretty much just told me what her seller said to her, which was probably 2 layers deeper in the negotiation. And I say that to say is you can tell that they're not affected by the outcome because they're just trying to get to a solution that sells a house, not the best solution possible for that seller.
Correct. But that client's already off the board, right?
Right.
Another
Yes,
agent,
100%.
that client is now spoken for with Redfin.
Yep.
And you're not having a great experience on the other side. That seller may not be getting the best, guidance.
Mm-hmm.
But what Redfin and Rocket Mortgage have is a better use of their technology and probably a better use of AI that is going in and following up. That's going in and nurturing them. That's warming up those 50 million eyeballs that come on their website every single month that are putting and submitting their information. And let's just say 80% of that is bad, Donald Duck at AOL.com.
Mm-hmm.
You still got what? The other 20% remaining. Which is
10 million?
10 million.
Yeah.
Right. So they're still getting millions and millions of people's data and information that they can call, they can text, they can email, they can follow, through retargeting on social media and just build out the relationship or the branding.
They couldn't even get to all of it. You know what I mean? Like I look at our database, we have a legitimate workable database of 60, 70,000 plus at any given moment that are available and up for grabs. And we could never dig to the bottom of that thing.
No,
never.
But as we deploy AI better,
yes,
they already have that working.
I agree.
Right.
But I just see, like, that's what I'm saying, as an agent, like, you think you need this massive database. You really don't. You need to lean into the technology. You need to nurture the people that are there better already, right? Because the reason Redfin has to do it that way is because it isn't as high touch as you, and that's how you can end around everybody, is by being more personalized in your business, creating an experience, right? I don't mean go out and spending money on stuff. I'm just like, this has always been the thing with that format, is you can still create that personal touch that they can't do, right? And I think that's where agents who, struggle are going to continue to struggle.
Well, and this is now where it's time for agents to start treating this like a professional business, a professional career, that they are truly the expert advisor to go to. It's starting to study the market trends, because that's, again, these major corporations are doing that. These major corporations are training their lending team, their salespeople. They're teaching them how to keep it in their ecosystem, because how often than not, Matt, do you see a agent who talks to a buyer, and that buyer has said they've already spoken with a loan officer? Maybe they've submitted their paperwork, maybe they haven't, and that buyer just says, "Cool, great," and either tries to set the appointment, they just try to go show a house, whatever it is, but they don't try to bring that person in their ecosystem to make sure that they're collecting all the data, that it stays in their ecosystem, right, their web, so that they can continue to foster that relationship, to continue getting future referrals and repeat business from them.
Agents just, you can't, and then sometimes don't have the ability to build out that web. I don't know if a spider web starts building it from the middle and works his way out, or out that it works the way in. But either way, whatever that looks like, there is a learning
It has to
process.
come out of the spider.
Yeah. But does he start at the middle and swirl his way out, or start at the outside and build it in? Like, I don't know. But whatever that process is, that's kind of how you have to think about it when you're doing real estate, because there are certain things that won't be open to you yet, especially as a newer, or if you haven't done as many hours in a specific form of lead generation to end up figuring out your way to make that web as super sticky as you want it to be. You're only going to do that through, though, the actual relationship side of things. Automation is going to make you much more efficient. It's going to throw more pitches to you, right? Like, imagine you just having some automatic ball feeder as opposed to some guy who has to walk over and pick up every 5 balls, right? Like, you're going to have, especially once your database gets big enough, you're going to have enough at bats. It's going to help you with that part. It's not going to necessarily help you land those things, though. That's why I do think the good thing about this and is it's going to weed out mediocre agents over time. It is going to get harder to do this job at the middling level than it ever has been before. And I think agents who are willing to take next steps are going to thrive. And if they're willing to work with technology, they're going to get a lot better. They're willing to become students of their craft, right? And I know we've been talking about this agent, freaking exodus forever. I don't know how middling, and I think we're seeing in the numbers, 48% didn't do a deal the year before last, now 71. We're starting to see how difficult it is becoming to just operate in the middle and wait for stuff to fall in your lap and then go run and do it, because those deals do not exist right now.
Well, you kind of hit on 2 points that we could go deep on. First off, is that where the industry goes is, I believe that this is now the beginning. We're kind of not even the beginning, because the beginning started years and years ago. But we're almost to the point of the death of the individual agent, right? The solopreneur agent. Now, when I say that, everyone's like, "Oh, I'm doing great. I do this," right? There's always the exception. There's some travel agents out there that make a killing, right? But it's not the same as it was, before Expedia came along.
Yep.
And so where does this go? I believe that this industry goes in 2 directions. Number one, I believe that you'll start to see more of this corporate environment. Of agents starting to happen. The Redfin, Rocket Mortgage, again, Compass and Berkshire Hathaway, and I think that I believe that we actually see the team platforms like Place, what Ben Kinney and Chris Suarez is doing at a high level, because agents and teams can come join that. They can actually reduce their costs through cost shared savings of using resources, and to be able to build a book of business that way, and to have a sticky ecosystem, because they have everything like we talked about. They have AI. They have the all one-stop shop that they're building out when it comes to title, insurance, mortgage, home services, etc. so that the client never has to leave the ecosystem. It stays within that so that you keep the data to you and that you can continue marketing to it.
Yep.
And so, that's the reason why you see, Rocket wanting to play in this. That's why you're starting to see the mergers of these big box or the big brokerages, and you'll probably see more. And this middle ground of agents is going to lead to the exodus of it. And then the few of them that can get over the egos will come join the right teams and start to build their book of business within there. And they will still have an amazing income. They'll actually probably have better income and a better career and a better lifestyle than if they were just to continue trying to do it on their own.
Well, and especially if you're buying into the dream of multiple revenue streams and all those things that we get that kind of get taught to us as young entrepreneurs, especially real estate agents, like create this, create that, they provide those types of opportunities. I think for me, there's always going to be the agent who's going to do business the old school way, right? Like, and like you said, they're going to have success in that. They're going to stay connected in their neighborhood, all of those types of things. I don't think real estate's fundamentally going away the way it is. I just do believe that it's going to become much more difficult to stay competitive. You're still going to find clients who are doing it for the first time, who maybe don't know any better and aren't interviewing enough. Like, all of those things are going to exist. But the amount of resources that you have and that I can imagine will be flowing into places like Keller Williams, who just had an influx of cash, or whatever, Rocket and Redfin, the types of things and innovation that's going to come from that, you just can't stay caught up if you're not with one of those teams, right? If you're at a smaller brokerage, you're going to get left behind. And if you're completely by yourself, or you're a broker agent on your own, I mean, you probably have a good niche business, and I wish you well, because those seem like the first people who are just going to get destroyed.
Yeah. And you're right. I think that if I'm an independent broker right now and I'm, got 5, 6, 7, 10 plus agents, and, more than likely that, or even 20 to 30, more than likely that independent broker, they're probably making money only because of the business that they're doing. Their 30 agents are probably doing very little of that.
Yes.
And they should probably consider merging them into a big box brokerage
go ahead.
That, could, offload a lot of the outgoing costs, that can increase, exposure for the individual agents that's there, and probably offer some type of, revenue, cost revenue sharing program, whether, you hear about the EXPs, the reels, the epics and stuff like that. But, if I'm an independent, most likely I have to get over my ego in order for me to even entertain the idea of looking at those options.
Well, because look, and rightfully so, this industry does attract an entrepreneurial mind spirit. And if it's not, it's certainly going to be sold to you, right? And then you go out and do your own brokerage. It's probably the same reason we started Homeward Property Management. You think every other brokerage sucks, and you're going to go do it differently. And at the very least, you're going to play by your own rules. Like, that just mindset in general is not saying that person's not a team player. They're probably going to be harder to pull in. And when you see big brokerages, and we know that 70% of agents aren't doing deals, and if you're at a brokerage where you only got 20 or 30 agents, especially if that brokerage is less than 5 years old, you're dealing with a current problem of you may only have 2 or 3 agents doing anything that's actually making the company profitable at all.
Yep.
And the reason most people join those small brokerages, they have really favorable splits and fees. So you're already working an uphill battle against what your value is you're providing them, because there's only so much money for you to provide value for them, versus what they bring in, versus the fact that most people move on at some point anyways. So you're probably going to lose them and have to replace them. There's just a lot of reasons why in the long term it's very difficult and getting harder.
Well, what did I just tell you? It's in this industry, just the current market. Let's see if I can pull it back up on the fly here. But you even take Fathom. Fathom, flat fee transactional brokerage. Probably a great company. I don't know much about the inner workings and the culture of it, but they had I think they had a 21 or 22% increase in agent count in Q4 of 2024, but lost, Jesse, if you can pull that up, they lost, if I remember correctly, 200, or it's like 24 million, or it's a massive loss compared to that.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see, so they had in 2024 is $21.6 million loss. Now they had a 21% increase in agent count.
Yeah, you know what that is in Q4? It's all the agents getting their Q1 bills and realizing that they have to spend $600 or $700 to keep their license, and then they freak out about office fees and they go look for the cheapest, freest brokerage to go to so they can try and hang on for another 6 months.
Correct.
That's exactly why their numbers increased in Q4.
Yeah, and you see brokerages just like Fathom, where they start introducing revenue sharing models. They're trying to attract agents in. They're trying to give a piece of the pie. Brokerages are trying to do everything they can to hang on. And as agents, you're going to your broker, you're joining a brokerage, not thinking or caring that they're profitable. And those are the ones that where your commission checks go to first.
Yeah.
And we saw it during the recession that, brokerages that were financially in trouble, closing down the doors with no notice given to their agents. And those agents were fighting to get their commissions.
Yeah.
Some of them, I don't even know if they got them.
Yep.
And that's the hard, just think about that. You're busting your tail. All of a sudden your brokerage closes its door. You have a closing and they took off with the money.
And we tend to sugarcoat this part of it. In real estate, you don't get paid until all the work is done. We haven't talked about that in a while, but that check doesn't show up until everybody else has been satisfied. And so not only just your brokerage closing, this is also a reason why keeping good deals together. This is one of my biggest pet peeves when agents just can't negotiate repair amendments and deals fall apart. You've done 70% of the legwork as a real estate agent by the time you get to that option period. And then you don't aggressively negotiate for your buyer. You don't go out and get bids so it makes the whole thing a lot more clear. You don't put in that extra time to get real answers for your client, as opposed to just being like, oh, well, I just terminated this one to go to. That costs them money. It costs you time. It doubles the amount of work you're going to have to put in. And I just don't think agents think about any of these types of things when they join brokerages. It's what are your splits? What are you going to give me, and what kind of shiny objects do you have? And that works sometimes, but I think this market makes that a little dangerous.
And I'm trying to see if I can find this answer here about how many brokerages lost money in 2024. But there was a study by Account Tech that randomly analyzed 100 real estate companies, and it revealed that 62% achieved a positive net operating profit in the first 6 months of 2024 compared to 60% of that in 23. So that's good. This indicates that 30% of these brokerages incurred loss during that period. So, they did see an increase from 23 to 24, which was definitely great from a brokerage standpoint. I would be surprised if you go from 24 to 25, if that number greatly reduced down, because again, 71% of agents didn't close a deal in 2024. It got a lot. The second half of 24 was definitely a lot tougher of a market. And, so far, Q1 of 25 hasn't been as strong as it was, in previous years. So
I don't know what some of these are. And this is just a really quick Chat GPT poll. It looks like it's quoting Housing Wire most places. Douglas Elliman lost 76.3 million last year. Anywhere Real Estate lost 64 million in the fourth quarter of last year. OfferPads said a net loss of 62.2. Compass, the company, reported a net loss of 154 million for last year. So it doesn't sound like some of these real estate companies are doing super awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So where do you, from here, I look at, if I'm an agent and I want to make sure that I stay strong, I build a solid book of business. You hit the nail on the head. It's the basics are not going to fail you right now. Right. So, that is open houses. I know a team out there here locally that did almost 400 open houses. The majority of their business, I think they did almost $100 million in closed real estate volume, all mainly coming from the open house lead generation source. Yep. That's getting in front of people, belly to belly, face to face. What can you do to get in front of more people?
Yep.
Right? The inventory, at least here in Dallas Fort Worth, we're starting to see more homes on the market and more homes for sale. So I would target for sale by owners. That again, a natural old school method that has been tried and true.
And it's free.
Yes.
Right. We're also taking into account the fact that if 71% of people aren't selling houses, there's not a lot of funds to go pour into these things. The industry's not dying. it's evolving in some ways, and it's becoming even, I think, even clearer in other ways. Part of my frustration with the real estate industry, maybe for the last 4 or 5 years, is there's been almost too many different ways to do it, right? There've been too many ideas. There've been too many products entering the market that seem like if I buy this, it'll do this. That's one of the things that I enjoy most about the platform that we're on, is like so many of the little $100, $75 a month things have been integrated. I don't need to carry things like HomeBot anymore. I don't need to pay for systems like LandVoice anymore. All these things that added up to like $500 a month, that if Matt was being a lazy ass that month, was not just the loss of $500, it was the loss of all the opportunity that came with that. You string a couple of those months together as Joe agent, which most of us are, right? It's not going to feel very good. And you start questioning whether or not you can stay in it. And then all the mental factors start coming in that usually take people out. It is your business at the end of the day. And it always has been. The brokerage is a partner along with that. The tech is a partner along with that. But you've got to take control of your business to have a decent 2025. And that is absolutely going to mean doing some stuff that traditionally you probably turned your nose up at.
Yeah. Guess what? The phone still works.
Yeah, man.
Text messages work. Open houses work. Your networking in there works.
Yep.
And so, you can definitely outwork this. And I think you can you can definitely do it through the prospecting based method. You can go read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the Red Book by Gary Keller. I think a lot of that still will hold true today, prospecting based business versus a marketing based. And, I don't look at this as a negative. I look at this as becomes an improvement for our industry.
Yeah.
Right. This becomes more buttoned up and more professional. We had a lot of people running around giving, in my opinion, horrible advice. There was, I believe that this will lead to even better training. I believe that as we see a reduction in real estate agents, that the best will stay in and still be able to find a way to make an amazing income and build the type of lifestyle and invest in real estate companies and invest in real estate opportunities that will build wealth for them and their families. And there'll be some of it through a revenue share. There'll be internally, there'll be some of it through companies becoming public and doing an IPO. And, at the same time, if you didn't stay in this, you're going to probably have to go get a job unless you're just secretly wealthy.
Which, why are you doing anything then?
Yeah. You're probably going to have to go get a job. They're probably going to give you benefits. So why not treat this real estate career as the job, so you don't have to go find another one, that you can still control your hours. You can go with platforms and companies that also offer amazing health insurance and amazing opportunities to move up and to build a great career.
Yep. You're going to have to do one of two things to stay in one of two things is going to happen if you stay in real estate. You're going to work really hard right now, and that's going to be our new normal, and you're going to get used to it. Or you're going to work really hard right now, and real estate at some point is going to get a little easier for the people who work really hard, and then you're going to have some of the best years of your life, right? But either way, if this is your chosen career, and you've done it for even more than 24 months specifically, what you did before probably isn't going to get you where you need to be now. Right. We're seeing evidence of that with agents who are kicking into gear on the team, agents who are coming in, some that are having success, some that are not. This is not a success leaves clues things. This is a success is so blatantly freaking obvious what you need to do. And it's just a few really specific, consistent activities.
I'll leave you with this, before we go, and we won't do this next week unless you do it without me, because I'm in Park City.
That's okay. We're both on spring break next week.
Okay. Yeah. We got to go on spring break.
I'm going to be sleeping outside.
Nice. But I will say, if you are a veteran agent, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plus years, and you've relied on your sphere, and your sphere is starting to dry up. I saw it during the 08 crash and recession, and I saw many agents leave the industry that were awesome.
Yep.
Because they weren't willing to go and try and implement new lead generation or tried and true lead generation because they thought that it wasn't them. They thought that they were too good for it, and that they were scared of getting rejected, right? They were scared. They had this fear around someone, not liking them or telling them to F off, or why are they calling? And they feared someone that they didn't know not liking them. Mm-hmm. And what it caused them to do was to leave the industry and to then go look at doing something else. And it doesn't have to be the case. Don't trust your sphere. That should be one aspect and one lever of your business. Make sure that you've got 4 or 5 other levers that you're pulling from in order to keep growing. And even if one shuts off, you got the other 4.
Exactly.
And you still feel comfortable and confident, and you can go to bed at night knowing that you're going to have closings coming in and that you're going to hit the type of income that you need to do in order to survive and thrive for you and your family.
And if you can convert sphere business, the other stuff is, in my opinion, that's one of the hardest things to do. So it's definitely doable to add those other things without too much of a disruption too.
Awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Everybody, thanks for watching. Catch us in a couple of weeks, I guess.
Yeah. Go to our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. And in a couple of weeks, we'll probably be talking about the Compass Berkshire Hathaway thing.
No doubt. Maybe we'll come on live from spring break.
Yeah.
Ooh, probably not.
No, definitely not happening. So,
all right,
guys. Catch you on the next.
Later. Bye.
Hey, thank you for watching. We truly appreciate it. Checking out another episode of the only real estate podcast worth listening to. If you're watching this on YouTube, please go ahead, hit that share button, hit that like button, and hit the subscribe button. Right? We're dropping more stuff on YouTube constantly. If you're on iTunes, leave us a review, please. We're really, really focused on building up those reviews so we can get more searchable content on there. And if you're on Facebook, like everyone else is, go over and search the only real estate group worth being a part of. You're going to want to go join that group. I'm telling you right now, there's so much gold in there. So go join, share us on YouTube, and leave us that iTunes review. Please go do it right now. We'll see you on the next show.